we're here today because the museum is undergoing a process of establishing its new vision. Is that fair to say?
Sure. And I think that's something that organizations who are rooted in the community and who serve their communities do from time to time. So it's a great time to do it.
In my day, and I'm going to age myself here, kids went off to the museum, and I think it's fair to say they kind of came away thinking museums are about old stuff, and that's what museums are. But it's not like that anymore, is it? Can you tell me how it's changed?
Well, kids still do come to the museum, fortunately, which we're very happy about. And there is still a lot of old stuff here, but what we like to say is we learn from the past. It informs how we act in the future and prepares a better, a stronger future for all of us. So we do take in all of those, the past, the present, and the future.
We do school programs here and school tours. We're actually doing one tomorrow and a couple days this week. But when I toured the kids around the museum permanent exhibit area, the first question I ask is, what do you think a museum does? And we get lots of answers, but most kids believe that, yes, it's about old things, it's about old stuff. And I think by the end of the tour, they've learned there is a little bit of the old, but it's also a bit as well about what's happening in their community and a way to learn more about where they live.
Well, it makes sense if you think that the old stuff was about capturing, a photograph, if you like, of community life. It kind of makes sense that the museum would have some sort of focus on community life now as well. I don't see a reason why it would be relegated to the past. But what does that look like when we talk about community life?
Well, I think that community life is inspired by it's the place. So we behave in a place connected to the land. So here we have a lot of forestry in our past, because we live in a very highly forested area. There's a lot of fishing in the past because we live on the coast. So of course the land where we live is going to inform how we live. And that hasn't changed. It shouldn't change. So not only learning about the past and how people have connected with the land in the past informs where we still are today and how we need to understand where we live. It's that sense of place in terms of community, but also the sense of place in terms of the animals and the forest and all of those other things that make this place what it is, and that includes the people.
Well, it is about human behavior to a very great degree. How does that wind its way through a thread, if you like, of what you do here at the museum, understanding the human behavior?
Well, if we look at the past, and like Doni said, when we walk a tour through the museum, we see how people have connected to the place in the past. So we see the types of homes the people have built and out of what materials, and those materials are locally available. And sometimes we've lost a bit of those connections. We see how people would have built things, how they would have found their food, made their food. And we want to make sure that people don't lose those connections. Sometimes there are skills involved in that. Canning was an important skill that a lot of our ancestors did. But unfortunately, some people don't know how to do that today, so you have to buy from somewhere far away. If we can help educate and help people learn about how people have lived in this place in the past, we can help people live in this place in the future in a sustainable way and connect with people who've lived here before and keep those traditions going. Sometimes people did things in the past for a very good reason. Sometimes we think now we know better, but sometimes maybe we knew better in the past and we've got to reconnect with that.
Yeah, and thanks, Michelle. I wanted to add to that a little bit because, Sue, you asked about how does the museum reflect that and share these stories about the way people lived. And we also do, in addition to our exhibits, we have speakers come in and different types of workshops. So, for example, we had, and this was during COVID, we had 2 elders come in and they showed us how to do the cedar stripping. They were Sooke elders, and they showed us how to do the cedar stripping from cedar trees on our property, which was used then to make baskets. And so in terms of showcasing some of these old skills and ways that people lived, and in this case for many thousands of years, we were able to do that. And this was during COVID, so we made a video, and it's still on our website today. But there are things like that we can use in addition to the exhibits, which tell a part of the story. And then in order to bring in some of the more contemporary types of things and link them together, we have lots of speakers come in or workshops and events that happen. So there's always something different happening here at the museum.
When I first moved to Sooke, and you take a look at events calendars and say, what's going on, what can I go and see? Your events calendar was probably the most comprehensive one, which surprised me. And maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, but it kind of speaks to how central you are to the entire community.
Well, I think so. Thank you. I'm glad you looked at the calendar, and we do have the community calendar that's on our website, and it's actually a shareable calendar. So we welcome other organizations to share the exact same calendar. It helps. One of the main roles of a museum is to collaborate, and because we have been so grounded and rooted in the community for almost 50 years, it seems like a natural progression. So if people share the same calendar, and if we collect information on the same calendar, we won't duplicate. If someone else is doing something, there's no need for us to do it. We can complement, we can collaborate, we can partner. We can help build awareness about what others are doing, and that's all helpful, and that's helping to serve our community.
I just wanted to add that part of our mandate at the museum is we're the official visitor center for the region that extends from East Sooke, Sienna, all the way up to Port Renfrew and Pacheedaht. But right now, Port Renfrew has their own visitor centers. So our visitor information includes all of those areas. And we get visitors from all around the world and all around our own region, but even people from our own communities. So that's part of our mandate, is to put out information so people know what's going on in the community and know where to find things and where the good hiking trails are, where the good restaurants are, that kind of thing.
You're going even further. I read a PSA recently that kind of surprised me because it was for the men's shed. And I thought, now, 9 out of 10 people would not have thought when I read that PSA that it was the museum behind it. What's the kind of thinking when you're looking at those kinds of projects that you're doing?
Well, we want to be a space and a place that's welcoming to as many people as possible. Everyone might be a bit difficult, but we want everybody to feel welcome here, and that they have a place and a purpose, no matter what your age, no matter what your background, your skill level. And so the Men's Shed is a movement that I think started in Australia, and it's been building in Canada over the past number of years. And so we're part of the Men's Shed Association of BC, which has been very supportive of our shed. Our shed just started in February, and they've only had a few meetings. They meet every third Saturday of the month. We have a workshop space that is used for museum purposes during the week, but those third Saturdays of the month, we open it up and we invite men to come in. And they might have skills that they want to share. It might be older men who have these skills that they've learned, and they find themselves at home and may be bored. It might be younger men who want to come and learn those skills. So it's a place where they can share, they can learn, they can collaborate, they can build, they can make stuff, they can talk about stuff. The idea of the Men's Shed, it's a kind of a shoulder to shoulder rather than being talked to. So that's what the space is for, and it just seems to fit with everything else we do that makes people feel that, yes, they're welcome, they've got a purpose, and we want them to be here and feel good about themselves.
But you could almost say that's closer to social work than historical preservation, which is kind of what people have in their minds about where something belongs.
Yeah, it's very much a health program is what it is, and it started out as a program to combat social isolation. In 2005, there was a big study on age-friendly communities, and it was identified that women go out, they go to social programs, but men don't. And so this was a worldwide study with hundreds of cities from around the world that were involved. And this is a worldwide issue, and Canada's not excluded. So when the museum had this shed, they basically had a shed, the workshop. And I was working in healthy aging at the time, so I kind of raised the idea with our executive director at the time. And it's part of our role as well to collaborate with other organizations, and that's really something we want to do. If we have space, which we do, we have lots of space, then we want to help other organizations get things started in the community if we can. And so this seemed to be like a really good fit, and we worked with the Sooke Region Community Health Network at the time to identify the need and got their support, and we were able to get a grant in order to at least get things started.
What are you hearing when you do these consultations? Are you hearing all of this reflected back to you?
Well, I'm so glad you asked about that. So we've been doing in community engagement. So Michelle mentioned that we're almost 50 years old. In 2027, the museum building will be celebrating its 50th anniversary. And what we wanted to do was look at, so how are we sitting with the community right now? What do people think? What do they like and want us to do more of? Or are there ideas for new things that we could contribute? So we want to know what brings people to the museum and what stories might be out there that we're not telling. So we're well aware that there are gaps. There are gaps in our exhibits. They were done in the 70s, and there were some more updates done in the 80s, but they reflect life that was probably 40, 50 years old at the time that they were done, or even older, like in terms of some of our First Nations stories is, that goes back tens thousands of years. So those are much older stories. So there are gaps in our more recent stories. There are gaps in some of the populations that we really focus on and highlight. We talk a lot about our Sooke people and Shanu, Pachita people, the very first European settlers that came. And then there's not that much after that, to be honest and really frank. We talked about how the community got established, what drew them here, and then in terms of where, how life went on since then, there's a lot more I think we can do to share some stories. The overwhelming, impression that we're getting is very, very positive, which is good. But we're also hearing, what is it that people like about the museum? So there's a real range. So some people like the old feel of it. We were just at a consultation event in East Sooke. And one of the participants said that they really liked the cozy datedness of the space, like walking up the stairs, they creak, and it's almost like walking up to the bedroom in your grandmother's house. Like, that's what they like about it. And other people say they like the nostalgia and the feel of it and the oldness of it. And other people think, well, they really need to be updated. We want more audiovisual. We want more light, better lighting. We want, more streamlined way of getting around. So they're seeing, we do see a real range of opinions that come in.
But you're hitting on an interesting point here, which is that the world has moved really rapidly in the last 45 years. I mean, just the advent of technology, geopolitically, and with the environment, we've learned so much more, and it's changed what we look at. There's a lot to incorporate now into a museum, just from that perspective, let alone all the things you're doing about collaboration in the community.
Yeah, we're very fortunate here. Some people have described this place as almost like an eco museum, because we're not contained to the space inside the main museum log building. We have lovely grounds with several other buildings. We have outdoor exhibits. We have our forestry path. So we have those spaces that are on the museum grounds. We also have a website, but we also have, and this is something that we're looking at updating as well, is we have heritage signs throughout the entire region. So we look at all of these as extensions of the museum. We also go to events in the community. So we do have this space, and we do have these grounds, and we do have these events and programs at the museum itself. But we also try to reach out beyond that and not just keep within these walls. So there's a lot more to the museum than what's between the walls here.
Lastly, I think I want to get into, I'm sitting listening to all the things that you want to do here and all the things you do, and I'm thinking, do they need more money?
Absolutely. And of course, we're so fortunate. We have a absolutely fabulous volunteer crew that helps us immensely. There are programs that we certainly would not be able to do without the volunteers. We well over 2,000 hours a year, but that's probably an underestimate as well of the hours that are put into volunteering here at the museum. So the volunteers do a lot, and that's normal. We want to also have those opportunities available for volunteers, but there are a lot of buildings here. There's a lot of maintenance. There are costs that continue to go up that are beyond our control. So we do have this fabulous gift shop that contributes quite a bit to our self-earned revenue. which features a lot of local makers that sell through here, that helps with our revenue. But we also, like I said before, we want to make sure that everybody can be here. So admission is by donation. We don't want to turn anybody away. And we know that people in the community are generous, and people who come from all over the world who visit the visitor center are also generous, which helps offset those who can't pay, but it's still barely enough, and we could do so much more with more funding.
To wind up here, you aren't quite finished the consultation process, right? You still have a couple more places to go. Tell me what's in the future with that.
Yeah, so we're really excited. We were in East Sooke recently. We're going to Otter Point on June 29th, Port Renfrew on July 5th, and Shirley on July 9th. So we're going out to these communities hoping that people show up, tell us what they want to see. And we also have a few community events that will be asking people what they think. So I think the next one's our open house on June 22nd. That's going to be a great opportunity to engage with people, and I hope everyone stops by. Then there's Canada Day, All Sooke Day, Shirley Day, and the Music and Arts Festival. Like, there's a number of community events that are coming up that we'll be participating in as well, and hope everybody will drop by and say hi.
Your volunteers are going to be working hard.
Yes.
Always do. Yes. Thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I really appreciate your time with this, and I'm looking forward to hearing what comes out of these consultations. Thanks again.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Sue.